Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Chris Rock just put out his new live special streaming on Netflix. It's the first ever. So that made history for not only the streaming platform, but also Chris Rock. It's titled Selective Outrage, and he's addressing the infamous slap from the Oscars a year ago. So, as you guys know, the Oscars are coming up really soon on the 12th. And this is the perfect time to not only promote the Oscars, but also Chris Rock in his special. He got paid $40 million, which was very smart and strategic on his part to wait until he could collect a bag and talk about the trauma of being assaulted on stage by Will Smith. So let's get into it. This commentary is basically, touching on the special, of course, that I just watched, but also addressing what's going on in social media as well, because the internet, as usual, are really divided on aspects of Chris Rock's special. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So, as you guys know, Chris Rock, Will Smith, and Jada Pinkett Smith are like Black Hollywood royalty, right? So they are comedians, actors. They've been in the game for 20, 30 years. And, I grew up watching all three of these stars as a child in multiple movies and different franchises. Will Smith, of course, being the most popular and successful out of the three. And from my understanding, Chris, during the special, even, he said that he was rooting for Will his whole career. He was a huge fan. However, the special really opened my eyes to a different level or a different side of Chris Rock in regards to how he views Black women. And not only Jada Pinkett Smith, who he actually had on his show years ago, the Chris Rock show, and he gave her a bottle of champagne and made a huge deal about it because she didn't mention her husband, which I thought was, pretty cringy. She was there to talk about her activism when she was, with the Million Woman March versus, the Million Man March. They were talking about that. But he, throughout the whole special, he was talking about various Black women in his life, whether it was his daughter, his ex-wife, Meghan Markle. Like, those were the things that I caught that he was discussing. And he was just basically saying wearing the Prince symbol, which I thought was pretty ironic because Prince was always an advocate for, Black women. He loved Beyonce and things like that. But Chris Rock was basically talking about how, for instance, his mother, she was born in South Carolina and in 1945. And back then, it was illegal for Black children to go to the dentist. So his mom, she couldn't see, or a white dentist. They had to go to a Black dentist, which I can't even imagine the hurdles for Black people to become certified as dentists back in 1945. But if you weren't able to find a Black dentist as a Black child, you had to go to the veterinarian. So his mom had to go to the vet. He was really talking about a lot of his core wounds and the indignity that she suffered as a child. But he didn't frame it that way, but that's how I heard it within that context. And he was just talking a lot about his internalized trauma, internalized colorism. He talked about Meghan Markle and how it really bothered her. She went on Oprah saying that, she thought it was really racist that the royal family were discussing her son Archie, and before he was born, they were wondering how dark the baby would be. He compares that to Draymond Green and saying, is this going to be a Steph Curry baby, or is this going to be, a Draymond Green baby? And Draymond Green babies with that skin tone, he's inferring, are going to have a really hard life. And, for someone who is dark skinned himself, I could see or hear a lot of his own internalized racism and internalized colorism and a lot of those wounds and traumas during his formative years play out on stage. Everybody Hates Chris is a sitcom where he is discussing, how he was bullied at school, his, teacher. The way he frames it is funny. That's why I'm laughing, but it's really hurtful. You could tell he's still hurt, being a grown man, but she would just say really off the wall, crazy microaggressions to him regarding him, just assuming that he was, fatherless and just, all these denigrating racist remarks that the teacher on this sitcom that, mirrors his life. Everybody Hates Chris was hilarious. And that's what comedians do a lot of times, right? Like they take the trauma in their lives. Kevin Hart's really good at it. His special Laugh at My Pain was amazing. But Chris Rock during this special, he was talking about how, he was jealous of his two daughters who were raised in a rich family. His ex-wife, he's like, she has as much money as I do and she's not funny at all. And he was just really explaining that, to me, this is what I was hearing, okay? Just my own opinion, that this man is hurt to his core. He's like, I'm single, I'm out here dating. And it was just an hour and 9 minutes long of him really touching on how he has been hurt throughout his life. And a lot of the social media clips that have resurfaced after this special were about, him being with other comedians and trying to allow them to, say the N-word around them and make them comfortable. And then Jerry Seinfeld stepped in and was like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Chris Rock is also, there's other clips just basically showing his deep-rooted pain and trauma. And, that old adage of hurt people, like that's what I heard throughout this entire special. And him, saying that he was watching Emancipation, which is the newest movie that Will Smith has played in. He was like, I was watching it just to see Will Smith get whipped. I mean, that's next level. Like that is traumatic. And of course, Will Smith obviously wasn't really getting hit. He's an actor, but he was portraying a slave. His name was Peter, and he had so many welts on his back that the picture became famous or infamous. And it was one of the reasons behind people really, their eyes being open to the horrors of chattel slavery. I can't imagine what will be going on in the psyche of someone who refers to himself saying, calling the actor, he had me rooting for Massa, which is exactly a quote from Chris Rock's comedy special, and enjoying seeing another human being be tortured. There's a lot of that, unfortunately, that he touches on. And so, again, my take on the whole special is, it goes back to, I guess, his ending quote. People asked him, well, why didn't you do anything back? Or, what was going through your mind? And he responded before he dropped the mic. He says, because I was raised, because I have parents. And though that part I get, because not only is he a son with two parents, but he's also a father. He has two daughters. But then his last line was cringy, and it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way, where he was like, my parents taught me not to fight in front of white folks. White people is what he said. Now, again, his mother, he didn't say where his father was born, but his mother was born in 1945 in South Carolina. During that time, I can't even imagine the survival technique or the mentality that she must have had in order to navigate a time during segregation. However, it's 2023, Chris Rock is famous, and he doesn't need to live his life through the gaze of other people despite demographics. You know what I mean? Like, he makes enough money, he has enough social capital to live a life of freedom. Yet that mindset, I really hope that, you know, he finds the therapy that he needs, finds the love that he needs, finds the healing that he needs. You guys drop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Take care, Aces. Bye.